this might be a where there's smoke, there's fire kind of situation. So, what do you think about the odds that James is out?
I think that they are strong, man. He has a player option at the end of the year. He's looking up and down his roster. 12 players on the Nets are free agent eligible this summer, including Kyrie. And I think Kyrie is somewhat loyal, but he is going to do what's best for him. And if Kyrie's about just balling, then he's probably going to want to go to a market where he has more control over the narrative and where he can actually play every game. So that's going to.
Let me put you on game.
Let's move into another guy that could have been an all-star starter but wasn't this year. Um, let's talk about James Harden. There's a report coming from Bleacher Reports' Jake Fisher. He cited sources close to Harden saying that the Nets star has been frustrated over Kyrie Irving's part-time playing. You know, we joke about him clocking in and clocking out to go to the health food store or whatever else. And James Harden is bumping up against Steve Nash's coaching style. And to make it all worse, Harden reportedly has not enjoyed his time in Brooklyn, especially when it compared to his time in Houston, you know, state taxes, the weather, all of that stuff. And for James's credit, when he was asked if he enjoys New York City on Tuesday, he said that he did and he denied the rumors. He did also say in the earlier part of the season that he was looking forward to testing free agency. So take that as you will. But James' season, he's almost averaging a triple-double, but his efficiency numbers are some of the worst of his career, while he's also playing the most minutes he's played in the last 5 years. And all of that is to try to keep the Nets at the top of the conference. And he hasn't been in the best shape, which has been an issue for him in the last couple of years. But, you know, despite their winning record, the Nets have one of the most dysfunctional seasons this year. Their talent has kept them at the top of the conference magically somehow, but, you know, they're still having some of the more, interesting storylines that are leading to some dysfunction for them. And I think they may well win the chip, but I don't think an early exit for them would also be surprising. Like, considering the circumstances surrounding the team, and James himself, he sacrificed a lot. He sacrificed a lot of shots, a lot of opportunities. He's used to having like a Luka-like complete control over the game, and that hasn't been the case in Brooklyn. And he sacrificed all of those things for a championship. So I think regardless of what he says right now, regardless of whatever he denies, I don't think that given what he sacrificed, he can be that pleased with Kyrie Irving being at 50% essentially when he's giving up so much. So I don't know. I know he's denying the reports, but I think this might be a where there's smoke, there's fire kind of situation. So what do you think about the odds that James is out?
I think that they are strong, man. He has a player option at the end of the year. He's looking up and down his roster. 12 players on the Nets are free agent eligible this summer, including Kyrie. And I think Kyrie is somewhat loyal, but he is going to do what's best for him. And if Kyrie's about just balling, then he's probably going to want to go to a market where he has more control over the narrative and where he can actually play every game. So that's going to weigh heavily. James Harden is looking at the situation like, what do I have here? I'm playing the most minutes, like you said. I'm not that great on Steve Nash, but I am great on Kyrie and Durant as a collective group of guys that around me, I think we can win a championship together. But because of just reasons that I'm not gonna delve too deeply into, as well as injuries, they just haven't been able to maximize their potential. And then with the talk of James Harden apparently having a close relationship with the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers, and Daryl Morey being the general manager there, who's been clearly, I think, in some ways obfuscating this whole Ben Simmons situation and has actually wanted to trade Ben Simmons for James Harden this whole time. And I think is like low-key holding out for the fact that Harden is going to leave in free agency and maybe they can do a sign and trade for Ben Simmons. I think that Philly has essentially showed their hand in the situation because the Kings have recently said that they have stopped engaging with the 76ers over Ben Simmons inquiries. And I think that's probably due to the fact that Daryl Morey is like, hey, give me an offer that I literally can't refuse. And maybe I'll talk about moving Ben Simmons. But at the end of the day, my ace in the hole is James Harden, who's going to become a free agent, and we're going to go for him and try to win a championship next year. I strongly think that this is going to be the outcome. because of just all the different factors that are at play here. When it comes to that whole state tax and cold weather thing, you're not going to get too much better in Philadelphia, but at least
not at
all. And when it also comes to, healthy superstars, you're really not going to get that in Philadelphia because, Joel Embiid, as great of a season as he's having right now, his injury history is strong, and it is a point of concern. But I think that James Harden is essentially gone, man. Unless Kyrie gets a vaccine and they win a championship this year with Durant playing really, really healthy ball and Harden being really healthy and consistent, I just don't see a path towards this lasting beyond the season.
It's tough. It's a tough situation, I'm sure, for James, because if you are playing that many minutes and you are trying, I think he genuinely is trying, despite some of the really bad clips that we've seen this year of him just forgetting that he was playing basketball at that particular time. I think he is really giving a concerted effort to try to pull this team to the finish line. But like, you got a dude on your team that it's hard to say, but I think it's a fact that he cares more about being unvaccinated than he cares about playing basketball. Like, because if that wasn't the case, then he would be playing 100% of the games he was available for, Yeah. But I think he cares more about not taking the vaccine than he does about playing basketball. So it's like, or at least playing in the NBA for the Brooklyn Nets. I'm sure he loves basketball, but I mean, I think that's just how it is. So if you're KD, who is famously, a workhorse, he's playing tons of minutes. He's doing it all this year. He's hurt right now, probably as a result of that. He busted his ass in the playoffs last year, played, record numbers of minutes just to keep the Nets alive, especially against the Bucks. And you're looking at Kyrie, it's like, well, kind of like the Andrew Wiggins thing, like maybe like one of these things is not quite like the other. They haven't said much publicly, but I mean, I think most logical people are looking at it and saying like, that's going to be a problem. So if you're the Nets, like, I don't know, maybe dealing James is the answer. I think the vaccine mandate is a huge part of that, because if you have knowledge or you think that the vaccine mandate could get lifted for next season, and then you trade James for pieces this offseason, and you go into the season with Kyrie, Kevin Durant, young players and role players like Joe Harris or Cam Thomas, and then whatever you get for James Harden, if that's a Ben Simmons, and you put Ben Simmons in the Blake Griffin role because Blake is pretty much done, like, I think that that's probably a better team than just James Harden, Kevin Durant, and half of Kyrie Irving ultimately.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a road for the Brooklyn Nets to get even better overall. I think that they have a higher ceiling with this current team, considering the fact that, like, those three dudes are some of the most talented dudes to ever pick up a basketball. But yeah, I don't know. I think that James Harden getting dealt might be the answer, unless for whatever reason they're going to make it work and Kyrie's going to get A, vaccinated, or B, the mandate is going to get lifted before the playoffs. So I don't know. I don't know what the situation is, but it is interesting. And it's a certainly interesting situation to watch. I'm curious to what, Brooklyn Nets fans and people watching this video think. Like, what do you guys think about James Harden? Like, are we a little too conspiracy theory-ish, or is there actually some, smoke in terms of this fire of James being unhappy in Brooklyn and him and Morey colluding behind the scenes? I'm gonna be the feds real quick. They better lose a pick if James Harden ends up in Philly. They better lose a pick, because we lost a second round pick this year for the whole Lonzo thing. So we all see this coming. We all see the collusion, the fraternization, I was gonna say nepotism, but that's not the right word. But like this, we all see it. We all see what's going on right now. We see what's happening.
Yeah.
So if this does happen, NBA, who's not watching this podcast right now, NBA, we want the Brooklyn Nets losing some picks. We want the Philadelphia 76ers losing some picks, specifically because we are both fans of teams that are in the Eastern Conference. And we're tired of competing with these great teams. But I guess that's all. That's my little soapbox against warring against the super talented teams that we have to go up against in the East. But let us know what you think.
Yeah, I appreciated that tirade, bro.
Yeah.